Good morning, everyone, and good evening and good afternoon, depending upon where you are in the world. I'm currently right between Melbourne, Australia, and Sydney, Australia, on the coast, the Sapphire Coast, which is my hometown. And I'm really excited today because we're going to be giving you some incredible information. So what I would like to do is, if it's okay with you, we've just turned off the chat function because we've got a lot to get through today. My intention is to get this all done within an hour, so to respect your time. And today I've got 7 questions that we've been asked for quite a long time in the context of coaching. And what I want to be able to do is answer those questions for you. The reason that I want to answer these questions for you is because many of them essentially lead to success in one's life. And not only that, my heart, my focus, the thing that I really love mostly is teaching people how to transform other people's lives, how to help people to get beyond problems and help them to define solutions. I believe personally that if you are good at providing solutions to people, then your value is massive. I learned this when I worked for News Limited many years ago in marketing. And one thing that I became in the organization is I became the problem solver. So whenever they had a problem in the company, what they would typically do is I would get a call and I would have to go to someone else's office or jump on a plane and solve a problem. Now, the thing that I've discovered is that I love solving problems. I really do. The harder, the more complicated, the more challenging, the more I love solving those problems. So I believe that the skills of life coaching and neuro-linguistic programming and many other modalities that I've studied over the years helps you to actually get beyond a problem by looking at it a completely different way. One thing I've discovered over the years is that problems typically are linear. It's kind of like this happens, this is the reaction, and a pattern is formed. And so when you get a pattern that's formed, typically a problem won't go away. So in order to get rid of a problem, we have to look at it in multi-dimensional ways. And that's going to make a huge difference if you can look in multi-dimensional ways. The problem is most people don't. Most people typically look at a problem in the same way, and therefore the problem persists. So today I'm going to give you many strategies. There's a lot that I want to teach you. I'm going to dive as deeply as I can. However, it will feel like I'm throwing a lot at you in this particular webinar. So do feel free to take notes. If you want, I will give you my email address at the very end, and I can give you all of these PowerPoints as well. So let's dive deep into this particular training, and let's start the ball rolling. So the topic for today is essentially how to transition career to become a life coach superstar. So that's the topic for today. So typically, most people that will be in this training right now are going to want to transition career to coaching, or they've already transitioned into the career of coaching. And they could also be a coach who wants proven strategies for more clients. That's certainly one of our specialities. And it's time you were your own boss. So there are some people there, you might be you, that you're in a job and you're thinking, you know, I'd like to be able to control my life a little bit more and my finances. Perhaps you feel a calling to serve or become a coach, or you already serve people, so why not make a career out of it? And actually, that's a typo there. It's not 7, of course, but that was the one thing that led me to coaching. I can remember I was working for News Limited, and a journalist was doing an article on a new career or a new industry that was being formed called life coaching. And she came into my office and she threw an envelope on my desk and she said, "That is you." And I said, "Okay, so I'm an envelope." And she said, no. She said, "Open it up." She said, I'm just doing a story on a new industry called life coaching. And she said, "You are a natural life coach." And I resisted it for probably, I think, about 8 years actually. And then finally I went into the training, and then the rest is history. And I love coaching. I love helping people solve problems. So the questions that I promised to answer today is how to know if you're coach material with 3 questions. Now, these are the 3 questions that I would typically ask people who are interested in coming into our life coach program and our NLP programs. And I would ask these 3 questions to help them to work out whether they were coach material. The next question is, what question lights up your brain's imagination center? And I see creativity as being a very important ingredient in solving problems. How to unlock your inner genius. And over the years, I've coached a lot of people who don't think they're clever. And after doing a particular process with them, I can typically, in one session, I can get a person from thinking they're not clever to starting to realize that they are actually clever, because I do believe we all have a genius. We really, really do. And why some people fail and how to change that. I'm going to go into a fair bit of detail there, and how you create a 50,000 part-time income by following our system. I'm going to show you exactly what I did to transition from a very high-paying job to becoming a very high-paid coach. And then we're going to go even further, how the best life coaches earn 6 and 7 figures. I'm going to show you exactly what my mentor taught me to really make a significant difference to my income. The first time I did this, it was shocking. It blew my brain out. I just thought, wow, the possibilities was incredible. And that was that I made an entire year's income. And I'm talking about my prior income. I made an entire year's income in just one talk. And I'm going to show you how to do that. So where and how to actually get started to, if you're thinking about being a life coach, or you're a life coach and you really want to be a superstar, I'm going to show you how to get the ball rolling. And I've got an incredible, exciting announcement at the very end. And this is, I think, a world first. So a little bit about me. Okay, so some of you are new to me and some are old friends on this particular training. And just to give you a bit of an idea, I started in advertising. I spent about 20 years in advertising, and it was mainly in the creative space and spent a lot of time there. Then I moved into the management of creative teams, and then I started my own advertising agencies. Then I sold my agencies. I went to Victoria. I was from Victoria originally, and I'd gone to Western Australia. Then I went back to Victoria, started work for News Limited. And then I was headhunted by a company to go into their sales team. I knew nothing about sales, but they believed that because I was very passionate about the things I love, they thought I would do good in sales. Now, I didn't think I would do good in sales, and so I was terrible at it until I discovered neuro-linguistic programming. And when I got into NLP, it was a game changer. All of a sudden, I went from the worst salesperson to the best and started earning more money than our Prime Minister, John Howard, at the time. That's in Australia, of course. And then in 2002, that's when I began my coaching. And then later on, we went to incorporate a company called Life Beyond Limits in 2004. And my world was so incredible. I totally loved my life from that moment on. It was like I had actually found home. I've been doing it ever since, so I still love it. So I've now done about 25,000 hours of coaching and training. And I've taught coaches and NLP since 2006. And we've generated millions from coaching. And I'd like to show you how we actually did that. And of course, we've been teaching coaches how to be super coaches. And there's a specific ingredient, and I'll show you what that is in a moment. And of course, how to be highly profitable doing coaching. Because truly, I think if you're really good at something, it's great when the money follows, because the money allows you to stay in it. The money allows you to reinvest in it. The money allows you, as you reinvest in it, you can grow it even further. And I think in the coaching space, I love it because the more successful we are, the more people we can actually help. And in fact, when you see what I'm going to show you, I couldn't do this at the very end if we weren't successful. And I'll show you soon. So here are the key ingredients. I believe that we need to build a skill set. We need to know what we're doing and build our skills and get good at what we're doing. But in order for us to be profitable, we really have to have a business mindset. And I think that is a key ingredient. If you're a coach struggling, chances are you may not have the right business mindset or a wealth mindset. And equally, I find most coaches, by the way, have a higher purpose. Most coaches really love what they do and they feel a calling. However, some don't have enough courage, don't back themselves enough, don't put themselves out there on world stages. And I think that is really, really important. It makes a big, big difference to your success. So this is where I live, just so you can get a bit of a picture as the place that I live. We were just there this morning, and my wife was actually out. She went out there on a boat and went to see some whales yesterday. We've got a lot of whales coming through at the moment. And I've actually been out there on those waves out there. There's someone surfing right there, you can see. I've been on those waves with dolphins. I've actually surfed with dolphins a number of times. So it's a really, really cool place. I really love it. These days, we do all of our coaching via Zoom, and we do all of our training via Zoom, particularly right now with COVID and lockdown and all those sorts of things. But the great thing about this is that you get complete freedom. Now, we do travel and we do live trainings as well. However, right now, it's all on Zoom because no one's letting anyone out of any borders at the moment. So here are the questions. Question number one, how to know if you're coach material. And I promised there were 3 questions to give you a sense. So I want you to begin to think about this. The first is, you're interested in how we tick. Most coaches typically are fascinated by how people become who they become. Psychology essentially, understanding how people actually think. The other question I often ask is, do you get a slight buzz from fixing problems? Does it fulfill you somehow, or do you feel better about yourself when you help people to solve problems? Now, this is one of the very common ones. You're the go-to when people have problems. So if you're a coach, coach material, typically you probably already noticed that people come to you and ask you for help. So these are often the 3 questions that I'll ask if someone's asking me, do you think I'd make a good coach? And if you answered yes to any one of those, with the skills, with the training, yes, you can be a great coach. Question number 2, what question lights up your imagination center? Interesting question. And the answer, or one answer, is the truth is great coaches have great questions. Here's one. What if? Now, what if, when you are asked what if, usually it's contextualized and there's content put in that. Someone says, I can't start a business. I don't think I can start a business. The great coaching question is, what if you did? Now, what that does neurologically is that drives a person to light up new neurology. For example, when someone's in a problematic state, what they'll typically do is they'll keep perpetuating problems because they're in a problematic state. When you ask, what if you didn't have the problem, is often the first moment that a person starts moving out of moving out of that problematic state. So questions can be hugely powerful. And the problem is, most people do not ask themselves good enough questions to create an amazing life. Now, I was running a webinar in one of our programs the other day. It was a webinar training for a program we have called Incubator. And it's a program where we teach people how to create online courses. And we had one group, and I said to them, do you mind if we just skip the module today and we'll do it next week? Today, I want to ask you some questions to really light up your neurology. And I can remember that session was massively powerful because it really spun people's thinking, and they started to think there were more opportunities for them. So questions can be fantastic in lighting up your neurology and getting you excited about life. Now, here's another question, and this comes from our NLP Master Program. It's called a not. The question is, anything less than, and this is a formula, anything less than the opposite of the problem isn't about the solution, isn't it? Now, what you do here is, as a coach, you can scramble a person's brain and get them to start thinking in the opposite direction of their problem. It's a little bit like what if, but it's a lot more sophisticated. So what you do is you grab the opposite of the problem and then you presuppose or make up in your mind a solution. For example, let's say someone has anxiety. So the opposite of the problem is, let's say, calm, for example. And let's say we suggest one solution, which is slowing down your breathing. So you could present this question. What you do is usually you create a bit of tension before you even ask this question. You say something like, I'm going to ask you a question, and this question might be the most empowering question you've ever been asked. Are you willing to answer it? And you pause. You let the client sit in the tension, and then you ask the question very slowly, and it sounds something like this. Here's the question. Anything less than allowing yourself to be calm isn't about mastering your breathing to just simply slow it down, isn't it? And so the person typically, because it's a not, you have an isn't in the actual question. So the truth is you can't really answer it either way. So what that does is that spins out the client's problem, and the client then can only, through confusion, and we hate confusion, so we want clarity more than air. So what we will typically do is we will grasp at choosing to be calm, or we will just grasp at the solution, which is mastering our breathing to slow it down. So that is a powerful question, and it's a very, very cool question. I've often used this in live trainings whenever people are aiming to break through the boundary conditions of their thinking, and we all have boundary conditions of our thinking. You know, we get locked in a boundary. So to break a person out, you can ask a question like this, and a person can start to become more resourceful. So there are superstar coaches who have NLP power questions, and NLP essentially is where I discovered so many incredible transformational questions. I've studied life coaching, and I was, I think, a good coach, but NLP made me an exceptional coach, because all of a sudden I started to have a whole group of tools in my tool belt that totally transform people's lives fast, really, really quickly. My income rose dramatically when I learned NLP, because all of a sudden I started getting so much word of mouth, and lots of clients came because they heard of someone else that I helped through depression in one sitting, or helped them get over anxiety. I remember I worked with a hairdresser, and she had anxiety for most of her life. In one session, the anxiety was gone, and you could imagine getting a hairdresser, that sort of result. She told everyone. She came in, I remember I had a clinic at the time. She came into my clinic, grabbed a pile of my business cards, and and I'm going back 15 years ago, I'm still getting referrals from her. Amazing. So there are the super coaches who have NLP power questions, and then there are other coaches who don't have the power questions. So just because you're a coach doesn't mean you're exceptional. It really is your training that's going to determine how good you become. And today I'm going to propose some ideas to take you to superstar status as a coach. And one of the key ingredients, in my view, is neuro-linguistic programming. If you haven't studied it, please study it. It's awesome. Question number 3, how to unlock your inner genius. So very much it comes back to the line of questions. Tony Robbins once said, the quality of your questions determine the quality of your life. And it's so true. Most people, what they do is they don't ask themselves quality questions. And as a result, they answer those not so quality questions, and they end up with a not so quality life. So understand that when you ask yourself a question, your unconscious mind cannot resist but answer a question. So if you're asking yourself high quality questions, you will get a high quality life, but you've got to become conscious of it, and you've got to remove some programs. So here is one question that I want to ask you today. What is the one question that, should you commit your life to answer it, will give you everything you've ever wanted from life? Let me give you an example of this. Excuse me. Many years ago, I asked myself a question that completely changed our business. I asked the question, how can we create such an amazing course that any coach that comes to it is absolutely guaranteed to be successful? Wherever they focus their direction, they will be successful in that area of focus. And that made a big, big difference to our business. It had us thinking differently about what elements we put into the training to help our students become successful. Excuse me, I just needed a drink of water. So now this particular gentleman, Vladimir Platil, now I can remember Vlad came to see me, and he was in sales at the time. And what essentially happened was he was kind of locked in the boundary conditions of his thinking. And so what I did is I simply proposed some ideas using my NLP skills and some other skills that I had developed over time. And what I did is I asked him questions. So I threw so many questions at him until he got to a point where he was beginning to doubt his own belief system. He was beginning to doubt his own life, which is a great position to put someone in. Because when you doubt your current belief system, you're essentially emptying the cup of all the ways in which you think the world works. And I challenged him so much because he came to me and he said, I want to increase my income. And I said, can you ask yourself a better question? And he said, what do you mean? I want to increase my income. And I said, well, you know, if you've got a pay rise of $1, that's increasing your income. Is that really what you want? And he went, oh, okay. And he said, okay, so he said, this sounds crazy, but I want to double my income. And I said, okay, can you? Is it possible? You know, what do you have to do in order to make that a reality? You know, are you capped? Is your income capped? And as it turned out, it wasn't. So I kept working with him until, you know, he got to a point that he was confused. Now, as I said earlier, people hate confusion, and he wanted clarity more than air. And so he doubled his income, and it was through his thinking. He just simply changed his thinking. Now, Jürgen Mennel was an absolute delight to work with. He went right through to our trainer training program. And he said, I wasn't always a high flyer. I was on the same income for a decade. Rick found my limits and removed them. In no time, I increased my income by over 100,000. I was finally flying high, living the life I once dreamed of. By the way, they're Australian dollars. Now, the thing is that Jürgen was a fantastic student. He was very, very easy to teach. He was very willing to empty his cup. Now, that's one key thing that is advisable, particularly when you're going through a program which is really helping you to get beyond the boundary conditions of your thinking. And, you know, when you can get there, it's amazing what is possible. And he is living an amazing life. He's a base jumper, and he's often posting all sorts of shots of him jumping off mountains and buildings and all sorts of things. And, you know, he's certainly a high flyer. Question number 4, why some people fail and how to change that. Now, this is a very long conversation, but of course I want to keep this to an hour. So I'm going to be a bit brief, but the first part of this is when you know where your blocks are, you can remove them. So when we see our little Homer figure here, what happens in our reality is we see things, we take in data and information, but the great thing about neuro-linguistic programming is it developed a model to help us find where our problems are. So for example, you know, saya mau nasi goreng. Now, if you can't speak Indonesian, you would not know what I just said there. If you can, you know that I said, you know, I want fried rice. But our language filter determines what goes in and what does not go into our brain. So if it doesn't meet our language model, we can't understand it. And that's one of the key areas. If you're going to expand your life, you've got to start with your language model. The next is your attitude. You know, your attitude to everything really does count. It determines whether you accept things, reject things, whether you have a rebel archetype, whether you have a leader archetype, and all of your archetypes live within your attitudes filter. So how you see yourself determines how you become. Your memories filter. Now, this is the filter that I find as a coach you spend a lot of time in. If someone isn't achieving something, it's usually because they have a memory of something similar to what they're trying to achieve that they haven't been able to achieve before. Your decisions filter is powerful. I was working with a lady just the other day who believed, a very clever lady, a lovely Asian lady who was very intelligent, and she couldn't actually read books. She couldn't read them, she couldn't retain them. And we discovered that when she was very young, she made a decision that she was going to create a problem with reading because it got attention from her parents. And so we've had our first session, and I am absolutely hoping and backing that when we get to our next session, she will say, oh my God, I am reading really easily now and I'm retaining the information. Because when she almost created a disability in a sense, because she valued the love of her mother more than she valued, being able to read. So our decisions filter can be hugely powerful. Meta programs are essentially our operating system that tells us whether we're black and white in our decision making or shades of gray. Are we big picture or are we detail? Are we people or are we project people? So this forms much of our identity, and you can get into meta programs and you can change those meta programs, and you can actually have a person completely change an element of their personality. Anyone can change. I really believe that. Values. Now that's the rudder of your life. We go very, very deep into our master's program with values. We spend, in fact, 4 days on it. Values is huge because it determines your trajectory. Most of us are unconscious of our values. We're not really aware what's really important to us, and we certainly can't put them in a hierarchy. But once you can elicit your values, know what they are, and know them very intimately, then you can make better decisions about your life. So it's usually, as a coach, it's a critical piece to help people to create what they really need to create. The final filter, and by the way, these are not in order. You know, often we will go through the language filter and the attitude to get to memories and so forth, but don't see these as being in order, because sometimes our beliefs can be the gatekeeper. And if you believe that something's possible, then it is. If you believe that it's impossible, then it is. So our beliefs filter can be quite critical, but this is how it works. We see an event, it comes through these filters, we get an internal representation of what we're seeing or what we're experiencing. So we internally represent it. You know, who are we in context to this event? What should we do as a result will determine our state, how we feel, and how we feel will essentially go into or translate into our physiology. So this is where the hairs on the back of your neck can stand up, you can get goosebumps, you can start to feel hot flushes and all those sorts of things. And it's because of how you're interpreting an event. By the way, this opens a Pandora's box of opportunity when you realize that you can get rid of many, many conditions using neuro-linguistic programming. And of course, what happens is all of this relates to a behavior. So you will act based on all these things, and these things happen in a nanosecond. They happen very, very quickly. So the next question is, how can you create $50,000 part-time by following our system? Now, I'll just go back just a smidge to just simply say that this is why I really believe NLP is so powerful, because it has put structure into transformation. And knowing these filters can really help, because when I'm working with someone as a coach, for example, I'm constantly thinking to myself, the problem they're presenting, what filter should I be working on in order to help that problem collapse? And that helps me to accelerate results really, really quickly. Quite often, I've found a lot of clients have come to me over the years when they haven't had any success with their therapists, and they've been going for years and years and years. I remember one gentleman who he'd been depressed for 7 years, on medication for 4. And in one session, I got rid of his depression. And that's how you can be laser quick. It's knowing what filter to work on and having the technique and the process to be able to utilize to help to collapse their problem. And, you know, believe you me, problems can disappear fast. Now, here is another problem, and that is that some people, you know, think, how am I going to transition to a coach? And, you know, because I need an income, and so, you know, I'm having this big challenge. Now, that was my challenge in the beginning. That's why I took so long to actually jump into coaching fully, because I had this problem. I had quite a reasonable wage, what I thought was reasonable. And I thought, how am I going to earn that in coaching? So I want to show you a system, and the beginning of this system is start by believing it's possible. So what I want to give you before I give you this system is I want to give you just a little quote that I conjured up. And that is, time is our only limited resource. One thing that I've certainly noticed is my wealthiest clients value their time far more than their money. Whereas poorer people tend to value their money over their time. So they squander their time, and typically they often squander their money. So you've really got to value your time. Your time is really important. So you can always make more money, but you can never make more time. So when we look at time is essentially an 8 + 8 + 8 format. That's your day. So you've got 3 lots of 8. So typically most people will sleep for 8 hours, they will work for 8 hours, and then they'll do whatever else with the other 8 hours. Now, sure, some people work 9, 10, 11, 12 hours and more, and some people work less. But let's just look at this as a model. So we all have 7 days a week. We all have these days, regardless of where you are in the world. We have Monday through to Sunday. And of course, if we look at that duration of time, there's also another duration of time, which is the hours that happen in each of those days. So if we think about this, most of us work 9 to 5, just as a measure. I know some people turn up for work earlier, some people stay later, but let's just look at this as a model. So if you work from 9 to 5, that amount of time you have already pre-negotiated that you will earn X amount of dollars by giving that time to your company or someone else's company. So what we also have is, the reason that we do that is we have an outcome. Now, remember I spoke about questions earlier. Sometimes the question that people ask is, how can I keep a roof over my head? And the answer is, I'll work 9 to 5 for company X. You can ask yourself a better question than that. So if you then sleep and rest from 1 a.m. to 7, and if you needed one more hour, you go to bed at midnight. So that time is all taken up. Now the rest of the time is yours. And I haven't quantified 8 a.m. because you'll be getting ready for work and so forth. So here is what I did. I basically changed my question. So instead of just keeping a roof over my head, I added to the question and learn how to coach and create extra income, or perhaps even more income. And so the question then required a solution and a strategy. So this became my strategy. So what I did is, for 1 hour each evening, I opened up my diary for coaching. And so eventually I filled my entire week with coaching. Now that won't happen instantly, but if you learn marketing and you know what to do in order to get clients, and I can teach you how to do that, you can fill up your diary with coaching. So let's say we have 1 hour, and let's just put a price on it. Let's say that you're charging $200 for your time, and you're doing it 5 times a week, which equates to $1,000 per week. So if we look at that, $1,000 a week over an entire year is $52,000. Now, of course, you don't have to work an entire year. You might work less, but this is just a model to play with. So once you've got that, so you're earning $52,000 a year. Now, what I also did was I learned. Now, I learned differently, but we have a program where you can basically learn coaching and NLP for just 2 hours a week. That's it. Now, of course, I took things further. I decided every morning, I was going for a run anyway. So what I did is I loaded my iPod with all my training content, and I would just run a place called the Tan, the Botanical Gardens in Melbourne, which is a beautiful environment. And I'd run around the Tan, for an hour, and I would take my iPod and I'd be hearing all my learning the entire time. And so what happened was, then I opened up Saturday and I started coaching on Saturday as well. So if you look at 8 hours, let's say you just do 9 to 5, 8 hours at $200 an hour, that equates to $1,600. By 52, that's an extra $83,000 plus your original 52 equals $135,200 based on that model. And this is the model that we've been teaching students for a long, long time. And it's a great way to transition, because you keep your job and the money that you make, you put in the bank, which bankrolls your business. Once you've got a good amount of money in the bank, well, you can go, buy an investment property if you want. You could do something else. But if you want to start a business, I suggest you leave it in the bank or invest it somehow that you can access it fairly easily. And that way you can bankroll your first year of business. So that means eventually you can just get rid of work. Now you've got an entire week. If you're already with this model earning $135,000, imagine what would happen if you now opened up that entire time to coach, and the game can change. Now, this was Christina Morrison who used our model, and this was her quote: "Rick Schnabel, you rock. Since working with you, I've got coaching clients coming out of my ears." Now, there's also another piece to this, and of course, that's marketing, knowing what to do to be able to achieve that. So let's answer question 6, how the best life coaches earn 6 and 7 figures. So again, you got to start by believing it's possible. So here is a simple formula that really does work. So the first part of the formula is called value. You've got to have some value that you are willing to give to a broader audience. So that is the formula for wealth, actually. Value times leverage. You put leverage out and you amplify that leverage. So for example, what I discovered earlier, I mentioned to you that I earned a whole year's income in just one talk. Now I did say talk. And what I did is I got out in front of an audience. I put a lot of value into the room. I then promoted my programs, and a whole host of people jumped into the programs, and it was an incredible result. It blew my mind. And I thought, wow, if I can earn an entire income, a year's income in one talk, why don't I do 10 talks? And, soon I would be a millionaire. And that's exactly what I did. So it's really a formula. Value times leverage. So you can coach one person for $200 an hour, and that's one way. And if you've never coached before, or you're just starting out, I would say start at this level. Then what you do is equally, you can coach 5,000 people for $200 an hour, and that's $1 million an hour. That is leverage, and it is doable. People do it. This is the young Tony Robbins, and Tony has been making millions and millions and millions using exactly that particular model with his, UPS, Unleash the Power Within programs and so forth. Sure, it takes quite a lot to get to that level, but it is doable. If one person can do it, another can do it, and many have. I've certainly done it, and this is how I did it. What I did is I created a whole host of various programs which were all valuable, highly valuable. Each of these programs help people to accelerate their results. And then this was my core programs, my life coach and NLP practitioner certificate, my speaker training, my trainer training, my master coach training. And each of these programs are delivering incredible results. But the thing is, I did the thing that scared me the most. I put myself out there. I went out there into an audience, and I was willing to fail. I was willing to do it badly and then slowly improve it. So the truth is here, don't work it out yourself. Don't try to reinvent the wheel. Don't try to work it out yourself. Basically, it's better to model what actually works and follow a proven formula. And then that way, you don't have to, do the trial and error and the fail type momentum or lack of momentum that people get when that happens. So question 7, where and how to get started? How do you actually create your grandest future? So if you haven't created your ideal life, it's likely that you don't know how. It can be a little bit daunting because, of course, there are many, many elements that you have to understand and then systemize and go through those systems. So is it okay if I show you a fast and proven formula? And I think you're going to really love what I'm going to share with you right now. Because imagine opening your mind and putting in the greatest thoughts possible. Like imagine what that would be like if you could start to, almost put your brain in a vat of new ideas and concepts that opened up your mind to thinking like a leader, or thinking like a superstar coach, or thinking like someone who is really going places. So we packaged up the most amazing way to do this, and we've given this a huge amount of thought. So step 2, and this is not step 1, this is step 2. If you haven't done it, then do a program to learn how to life coach. If you're starting up, make sure that you have trained to be a life coach. And this is our life coach and NLP practitioner certificate. So this is 2 courses in one. This is a life coach course that many people use to create their coaching business to get the skills. And it's also an NLP practitioner certificate where I think it's coaching on steroids. It really helps you to accelerate your results. So what we've created, and here is part of our announcement. We have now just discovered that because of COVID, we can actually offer life coach training via webinars, a series of webinar trainings, and it can be accredited. So essentially what we've done is we've created a whole system of these. So webinar 1 is learning how your brain works. Webinar 2 is learning about Robert Dilts' logical levels therapy, which gives you structure as a coach. Webinar 3, learning the 7 filters of the unconscious. I just shared those with you earlier, going in and learning how to define a person's problem based on that particular model. Webinar 4 is submodalities. Now, I'm not going to go into detail with submodalities, but if you imagine how you used to change a television set, you know, turn up the brightness, you know, turn up the contrast and all those sorts of things, you can do the same with your brain. You can basically get in there and you can change the modalities of your brain so it's programmed differently. Now, in brackets, it says like to dislike. And I'll show you how you can get a person within 15, 20 minutes and they can come to you saying that they want to stop eating chocolate, but they love it. And you can get them to go from loving chocolate to completely discarding chocolate for the rest of their lives. And it's the real key is utilizing submodalities. And I'll teach you exactly how you use these submodalities to be able to not just get a person to change from chocolate to, you know, to not chocolate, but also how to change behavior. This is an incredible, powerful technique. Then webinar 5 is learning how to build deep level rapport so that people get you, so that you're able to work with people. Because one of the most important things as a coach is that you have to build a level of trust. Your client has to trust you. And so rapport is very, very important in the context of coaching and in anything for that matter. Before you start anything, you need to build rapport. Webinar 6 is improve your learning. And this is how you accelerate your ability to learn and you accelerate your ability to take in data. This is where I'm going next with the client that I spoke of earlier that was having challenges in reading. Now, I'll check to see whether she's at, but highly likely I will teach her this technique to accelerate her learning ability. Webinar 7 is learning sensory acuity, to be able to read things that other people can't see. Webinar 8 is learning about eye patterns, what they mean when your eyes go and dart around to different parts of your brain. Webinar 9 is learning representational systems, the 4 different communication styles. And the reason that some people don't get other people, because they don't feel you or they don't see what you're saying or really understand you or know you at a very, very deep level. So understanding people's communication systems is really, really important. We need to know ourselves in order to create self-motivation, but we also need to know others in order to help them to be productive and be successful in their lives. And that's a key learning. Webinar 10 is learning about beliefs and how to change them. Webinar 11 is timeline. That is huge. If you just remember this one webinar out of all of this, timeline is massively transformational. Many of our coaches that we've trained over the years feature and focus very much on timeline, and they use that technique again and again and again. It's so transformational. Webinar 12 is hypnosis and learning how to use it, because languaging skills are absolutely imperative if you're going to be a superstar coach. Hierarchy of ideas is language patterns, you know, understanding when you're speaking big picture, understanding when you're speaking detail. And leaders, by the way, speak big picture, and worker bees tend to speak detail. Accountants, detail. Politicians, big picture. So once you understand how to go up in your language and go down in your language, you can start to flex your communication in incredibly powerful ways. So this is great if you want to be a better leader. Webinar 4 is strategies for success. How do you create strategies for success and associate them neurologically so you don't have to think about them all the time, you just do them. Webinar 15 is anchoring, plus there's another 15 modules to go. So I'm not going to go through all of the modules, but essentially I want to give you some detail and some big picture as to what this is about. This is about really shifting your life. If you want to do it for yourself or you want to learn as a coach, you'll get 30 modules. And once you've got this program, you can just basically completely change many, many areas of your life. Now, here's the exciting news. The news is that when you do it this way, we will be one of the first companies in the world to now teach neurolinguistic programming, life coaching, and hypnosis online, and it's actually fully accredited. So that means that you can get professional indemnity insurance and that you could put yourself out there as a coach. It brings you up the hierarchy because you now have an organization that stands behind you that says that you're a credible coach. Now, the total value of this is $3,960, but I'm going to just add some things to this, and then you're going to be amazed at what I do at the end with this. So, life coach and NLP practitioner training, you get 3 certificates, and they are essentially the certificate called NLP Practitioner Certificate, the Life Coaching Certificate, and the Ericksonian Hypnotherapy Certificate. So there's actually 3 certificates that come with this program. Now, Vitali did our program, and he basically said my mind was being blown every hour of the course. Truly amazing. Let me share a very quick story about Vitali. He came in because he was really looking for someone special in his life. And a week after the course, he'd been struggling to find someone. A week after the course, she arrived. Why did she arrive? Because he was ready for her to arrive. A really lovely story. Now, what you also get in this particular program is you get absolute full support. So you get Zoom sessions with me personally to guide you through the steps of this program to help you so you know exactly how to use this particular program. Plus, you get 3 months of email access so you can fast track your way to success. So any questions you have, anything that you need help with, you've got the support. So this is, these webinars are live. So you can actually ask questions as we go through them. Plus you've got the Zoom sessions, and you've got 3 months of email with this as well to really support you. That's what we really care about. Now, the total value is $2,500 for the support program. And so here's what you get. You get the 30 webinars, you get the full Zoom sessions, the full support, and also the 3 months of email access as well. So the total value of that is $6,460. So here is Mandy Siegel, delightful Mandy. She's a lovely, lovely person. And she said, now this is me blowing my own trumpet, I guess, or Mandy blowing my trumpet. She said, Rick is an excellent trainer, full of inspiration, expertise, and always delivers beyond the promises he makes. This course helped me to grow into a successful full-time coach and trainer. And she is. She's an amazing coach and an amazing trainer. And she's also an incredible singer. And she's a highly, highly talented woman. And when she came into our program, she was a delight to have in the program. She brought an absolute spark to it. But the point that she's making here is it's true. I will completely over-deliver on what I'm promising you here. Now, Michael Maher, he said, Life Beyond Limits Life Coach and NLP program is the best we've seen in getting people into the right mindset to achieve amazing results. And he's a very serious dude, very clever dude. And he believes that, this particular program can absolutely get you in the right mindset. And, he saw the result of many people that we had trained. And so what I'm going to do, if you've already made up your mind that you want to do this, I'm actually going to add some more bonuses. And the reason that I'm adding these bonuses is because I really want you to be successful. So over the years, we've realized that one thing that is really critical to being a success as a coach is also understanding marketing, understanding how to position, how to price, how to get you where you need to be. So the thing that's really critical here is being able to market. So we're going to bonus this. We're going to give you a program called Marketing Incubator. Now, this particular program basically shows you how to write copy, how to develop marketing that sells, and this seriously can increase your results by over 300%. But I think they're being very, very conservative about that because it's an amazing program. It teaches you, how to everything right down to the detail of how to write good subject headers in your emails, how to actually write your emails. It's all templated, so you can just take our templates, and it teaches you about the customer journey, how to build a customer journey, how to build funnels, how to build landing pages, how to build websites, all the stuff that you need to have in order to attract clients to you. Plus, in this, I give away my success system, which is how we get clients. Now, this gets us a 90% success rate, and I teach you the entire system, how we actually, our number one way that we get clients. And that's valued at $4,997. Many people would pay for that program $15,000. It's an amazing program. So that's step 3. Now, imagine installing a multi-millionaire mindset into yours. And that is our Millionaire Master Academy. So this particular program is, I think, the difference that makes a difference. When you start thinking like a millionaire, you create the opportunity to build millions. But you need systems, structure, mindset, models, mentors, and this program gives you all of that. And it challenges people in how they think to start thinking quite differently. So we've included this program. It's valued at $2,997, and this is step 4. So this is another part of the packaging, bringing the marketing, bringing the millionaire mindset, and bringing the NLP. You've got an absolute recipe for success here. So imagine being able to review all the material anytime you like. So we're also going to give you our online program, which means that you can review and you can access that information anytime you want, and you can review it again and again and again for the rest of your life. That program, once you are in it, you have it for the rest of your days, and it's valued at $19.97. So that's step 5. So here is what you get. You get the 30 webinars. These are live. And by the way, if you can't make the live sessions for whatever reason, they will all be recorded and you can watch them in your own time. The Zoom sessions, you also get the unlimited email access. You get Marketing Incubator, you get the Life Coach and NLP Practitioner, and you get the Millionaire Master Academy. This is why I'm so excited about this program, but I haven't shown you why. I'm incredibly excited about this program. So that is valued at $15,451. So it's a very serious program. There's a huge amount to it. Now, the question is, can you do this another way? Well, you could do a marketing course, a life coaching course, a copywriting course, and an NLP practitioner course, and you would pay 3 times as much as the full price. Of course, you're getting a sense that I'm going to bring the price down incredibly, and I am, but not yet. Because You could do it another way. You could trawl the internet, but the truth is that you probably trawl the internet for years in order to really make this happen for you. And I've found many people who use this as a strategy to learn things. You can learn some things, but typically most people get confused because there's too many conflicting pieces of information. And that's the point that people get overwhelmed and people stop and they never quite know it. You need to be trained in a sequence. You need to build layer upon layer. When you're searching on the internet, you're just jumping over the place and all the layers are out of sequence and it's very hard to put them all together. So today we're going to make it really, really easy for you. Because the truth is there is no comparison. There is nothing like this out there. And of course, yes, I'm going to make your day by dropping the price. So here is my offer to you right now. And the reasons that we have made this so crazy is because we want your success story. I've shared some with you today, and we have literally thousands of people who have, given us success stories. But the thing is that you always want new success stories. Not only that, when you get success stories, you're actually making a difference in the world because you're helping other people to make a difference for themselves and others. And I'm also going to make this so attractive that you say yes to this, because after today, it reverts to full price without the bonuses. So the value is $15,451. So we're going to drop it and wait for it. This is a ridiculous offer. We're going to go from 15,000, just to round it down, to only $19.97. Or you can go on a payment plan of just $197 per month for 12 months. And the reason that we're doing this is because we want to help leaders lead an evolution. I think more than ever, the world needs more life coaches, needs more success stories, needs more people out there writing books and programs and coaching and helping people, guiding them. And this program will give you everything you need in order to be able to do that incredibly powerfully. So equally, we've created a 30-day, no questions asked, success or your money back guarantee. All you have to do, if you want to take us up on the offer of our money back guarantee, you just simply email us via training@lifebeyondlimits.com.au, and we'll simply, if you've paid by PayPal, we'll just simply go to PayPal and reverse it and just refund you. If you paid by credit card, again, we'll do the same thing, just reverse it, and there will be no fees. It'll just directly, the money you paid will go back into your account, no questions asked, because we want people who want to go the distance, who want to stay in this program, learn from us, and help other people as a result. So all you have to do is go to this particular link, lifebeyondlimits.com.au, transformational-bonanza, and you'll come to this particular page. Of course, there's a lot of text and you'll see all the details of the program there. And all you have to do is, if you want to go on a payment plan, you just click on the type, on the hyperlink. If you want to get the fullest discount, you just simply click the button and it takes you straight to another product page where you can simply buy the product. So this ends midnight tonight. And there's a good reason that we do this, because we know that people who make decisions quickly and change them slowly are more likely to be massively successful. So we want to train you to make decisions and get yourself motivated and moving rather than procrastinating. Procrastination slows us down. It really, really does. So we're after the action takers because we want to create a massive amount of people who are highly empowered and ready to make a difference out there in the world. So this is the page that you go to. So you simply click on the Buy It Now button if you're going for the biggest discount, which is the $19.97, and then you will get the biggest discount and you can basically get it today. Now, if you have any questions, I will be available today. You just simply send them to me at rickschnabel@lifebeyondlimits.com.au, and then you can ask me any questions about the program. But if you've absolutely made up your mind, you're ready to really make a difference, then simply all you have to do is jump on that particular link and you will be able to get this entire program for just $1,997 or 12 monthly payments of $197. This is an incredible program and it will really make a huge difference. This is step one. And then we begin our journey. And from that particular standpoint, I would like to thank you so much for joining me today. I really hope that I have helped you to understand how to really. Now, there are many things that I've shared with you today. And the thing that I want to say is that if you are thinking about this, make a decision. Make it a yes, make it a no, but either way, make a decision, because it's really the difference that makes the difference. So thank you so much for being on this training with me today. And I look forward to seeing you in the very next part of this program to start taking you to a complete life beyond limits. My name is Rick Schnabel, and thank you so much for joining us today. Bye for now.